Hello, welcome back. I'm Dan McKinnon at Talk Inc. This holiday season, I'd like to talk about celebrating the other, the gift of values, recognizing the difference in others and celebrating that people's values are different than your own, but once you align them, you can really, really connect. As many of you know, I've done research before organizationally as I was becoming a psychologist, assessing the values and the centers of gravity and the life conditions of executives, managers, supervisors, workers, and trying to identify what the core values were for those people, and we did using our assessment instruments, and also then communicating back to them what those core values were and helping them understand each other, helping them understand difference, and celebrating the other. Now, usually when we talk about values and we break it into certain conceptual categories and classes, and it starts with three of them. First you have, if we go like this on this side, you have a pre-conventional egocentric cluster. In the center here, you have a conventional ethnocentric cluster. And if we look over to the right, to the right here, we have a post-transconventional world-centric cluster. Now, when we're looking at the values groupings and the centers of gravity for them, most of us seem to operate or be grounded in one or two of these value centers. And then as life conditions change, we dig in deeper within those clusters, or even if it's a difficult, stressful time, ratchet back a bit, or if we're having an especially liberating, freeing time, things are really flowing and working, we move up a bit. So now let's remember the three conceptual categories: egocentric, ethnocentric, world-centric. Usually in the egocentric, there's these three centers of gravity, centers of values. The first one is the survival center. If a person would say, I survive, it's very instinctive. If you thought about it in the terms of movies, the movie Quest for Fire, that's what that would be about. And as I'm going through these, think about yourself, where your center of gravity might be for your values. The next one underneath the egocentric grouping would be belonging. That's where people say to themselves and to others, we are safe. That's more of a tribal, clannish type value. If you looked in the movies, it would be something like The Lord of the Rings. Third, in that egocentric cluster, would be a power value. That's a value where the person is into I control. It's very egocentric and it is exploitive, or it can be on its dark side. A movie that would give you a good conceptualization of that would be Conan the Barbarian. So, underneath egocentric, we have survival, belonging, and power as centers of gravity for values and adaptive intelligences. Now, when we move to the ethnocentric, we have three more that group underneath these, three more sets of core values. The first one would be a value for rules and authority. And in that one, the saying for people is, we are saved. And it's very much into absolutistic and saintly, one right way type thinking. A good movie for that would be One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Next, underneath that ethnocentric grouping, would be a value for science and success. This is where people say to themselves, I improve. It's very materialistic, very achiever-oriented. Great movie for that one. Of course, a wonderful movie is a movie called Wall Street. You can really, really get a sense of this science and success value. And thirdly, underneath that ethnocentric grouping, would be a value for being egalitarian, sharing equally, spreading things around. What people say, that the saying for that one is, we become together. It's very relativistic, very sociocentric, very good in that sense. And the movie for that one that I categorize it with would be the movie Forrest Gump, where things just work out and everyone gets their fair share. Now, when we move from there to the more second tier, the more higher evolved levels of values underneath the world-centric value system. The first one, underneath there's two. The first one is a real value and appreciation and adaptive intelligence for the systemic, for things, for the flow and the fit and the flex of making things mesh and merge. And that one, what people say is, I learn. I have a hunger to learn and to expand and integrate things. It's very systemic and integrative. A great movie for that would be The Matrix. And then finally, under that world-centric grouping, would be the holistic, interdependent value, a value of where we experience as one interdependent, globalistic, renewalist type system or world. A great movie for that, I'm sure some of you have probably seen it, would be the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? So now we have 8 core values grouped under 3 categories or clusters. The clusters are egocentric, ethnocentric, and world-centric. And we have the 8 values. Underneath egocentric, survival, belonging, and power. Under ethnocentric, rules and authority, science and success, egalitarian sharing. Under world-centric, it's the systemic flow, flex, fit, and or the holistic interdependent. So there you have it. Now, have you given some thought to where you fit and where your centers of gravity are and how you stand on there? And then think about some other people in your life during this holiday season. Because we're all under a perpetual developmental process. As life conditions change, as stress goes up, as human beings, we cycle and loop through where our centers of gravity are and where our values are, focusing on where we can get the best adaptation, whether it be in the I, me, mine side of it or the we, us, our side. Now, if we're not able to do that, we can at times also create a pathology around it and or a potentiality. Sometimes people have a functional fixedness stuck in one value zone, and even though their life is changing, they can't get out of that sense of wanting to belong or that sense of I've got to just achieve. And so they're stuck, and that way they have less flexibility or less degrees of freedom in the world. Think about yourself and think about others. And now at other times when people have a lot more potentiality in their system, then they're able to move between 1 or 2 or 3 of these core value clusters and get much more range in how they can relate to people and adapt. So what's key for this holiday season, what the gift of values and celebrating the other is all about, is to have a sense of who you are and look around you and appreciate others for where they are in their lives and meet them where they are. Take them where they're going. Go along with them. That way, together, you can celebrate together during this season, and together you can have a validation of your values. Thank you, and we'll talk to you again next time.